bring him up to that point, because nobody helped me. You know, I started my YouTube channel in 2009, and I started every week just making something, putting it up there, and, you know, just trying to make something better than the week before. And after almost 10 years of doing it, that's how I am where I am. But so I didn't have anybody. So I really want to bring him in. And so I think, like you were talking about earlier about mentoring, that's what we need to be doing, you know, as indie filmmakers, is supporting each other, mentoring each other. I'm going to bring this guy in and try to impart and share some of my experience with him. And if we're going to survive, you know, in this world, we need to be there for each other and help each other in exactly that kind of way, and make it not be so much about me, look at my stuff, you know, come look at my film, but I'm not going to look at your film because it's all about me. Like that mindset needs to not be there. We need to be here to help each other, you know, just like I'm doing with that guy. And that kind of transitions into what your question was. 25 years ago, when I worked with Spielberg on Hook, at the time it was kind of a big boys club. It was kind of a, you know, the cool table. You know, there was a group of people that worked for the big studios, and you worked for a studio and you had studio money, or you didn't make movies, and that was kind of the way it worked, you know. Otherwise, how are you going to make movies, you know? Talking about Kevin Smith. He made his first movie by maxing out all his credit cards, and he used insurance money because his town got flooded and his car got ruined, and the insurance gave him a paycheck, and rather than buying a new car, he financed his first movie. You know, but now we have things like crowdfunding, and we have, you know, all these ways where you can just do it yourself, and anybody can really do it. Now, you got to put in the work, because yeah, you could be the greatest director, or the greatest filmmaker, the greatest writer, whatever, but if nobody knows that you're there, then nobody's going to be paying attention, you know. So you got to build your audience, and that's one of the biggest questions I get from people all the time is how do I fundraise? How do I Indiegogo? How do I Kickstarter? Well, you got to build your audience first, because if nobody knows you're raising money, no one's going to give you any money.
I just want to say that again, the mentality has got to be connecting with an audience. If you go in to build an audience, you're not in it for the people. You're in it for yourself to have a number. You got to go in and connect with the audience to get that kind of result.
Oh, absolutely. And another part of what the transformation is, people like the industry isn't focusing on films as much anymore, especially indie films, especially with tentpole things like the Marvel movies, you know, where there's billions and billions, and there's no way that we can compete with that, you know. So people are like, the focus is now on web series, and you were talking about 1 minute series, like that's exactly where things are going right now, is the web series and the streaming, and I can binge watch a whole season of something whenever I want. And so like now there's less focus on making your first full-length feature and more focus on making a web series. And like you were just saying, connecting with an audience. There's a web series that I've been following for many years now, and they've had 10 episodes, and they put out one episode a year. And I've watched their progression go from they're making their first few episodes, you know, with this crappy little camera that he happened to have in their apartment, and I watched as they grow in popularity and build their audience. And the last Kickstarter that they had for their last episode, they raised like 80 grand. Wow. And they produced like a professional quality episode. And I watched that happen. Like I was part of that. I was in the audience for that, and I followed that for many years. And I'm thinking, like, if they can do it, anyone can do it. You got to put in the work, but anyone can do it, you know. And that's kind of the big difference between back then when Hook was made and now, is that now anybody can really do it, you know. It's going to take time. It's going to take work, and because somebody said earlier about the how much content is created. What was it? There's more content now in the past 30 days than in the past 30 years, which what that means really is that the competition is fierce. And before you even set out to do anything, you have to figure out what makes you stand out in that sea of people that are also trying to stand out. Because even if you could watch something every hour of the day, all day, and not sleep, you can't watch all of it, which means you have to convince the audience to watch you more than the next guy, which means, like you said, you have to connect with them. so that they know that you're there, so that they can watch you. Otherwise, they're going to watch, 100 other things because there's 100 other options, 100,000 other options. So, now, back then, it was about they make something, the studios make something, and they tell you what you want to watch. Now, everybody's making something, and you have to convince them to watch you. I think that's kind of the biggest difference, with the social medias and with YouTube, and how much easier it is now to make something. Just a little example. When I was on the set of Hook, I was on set for 7 months. I don't know how much longer production lasted without me there, because there was a good amount of the film that I wasn't in, but just my part was 7 months. Now, by contrast, how long were you on set of Straight Outta Compton?
4 weeks.
4 weeks. It's so much easier now, and it does, like, you could produce an entire film in 4 weeks. You could produce an entire film in 2 months. It's so much easier now with the technology the way that it is, to put something together quickly and easily. You can skeleton crew something. You can have 5 people on your crew, and you can put together a great thing. And it's less about the crew and the size and the budget, and more about your talent and your dedication. Versus back then, there was hundreds and hundreds of people. And I'm just talking about the 7 months